feel so out of reach.
You always land on your feet, bro. You're Jaime.
They don't get out much.
Welcome into Box Office Quarterbacks. This is going to be a fun one today, guys. We are talking about Blue Beetle, potentially the first movie in the new rebooted DCU. That is my friend Ahmed. That's Gerald. Before we get into this episode, quick shout out to our sponsors, Rival. Rival Fantasy Sports is your new one-stop shop for really, really fun fantasy football, fantasy baseball, and coming soon fantasy basketball challenges and games, and even coming soon some fantasy football leagues, which the Box Office Quarterbacks are going to be running here in about a few weeks. So go to joinrival.com/boxofficeqbs for $25 in free play and up to $200 in play match. I think I said that right. So your money gets matched up to $200. That is what I'm trying to say.
What he's trying to say is he's going to get you up to $425 if you deposit $200 right now using that exact URL he mentioned. Joinrival.com/boxofficeqbs. You'll automatically start with $25 with whatever you deposit, plus the $25. Then if you deposit up to $200, you'll be matched with that $200. So you could have up to $425 for the cost of $200. And you're going to end up winning it anyway because of all the fun betting games like bingo betting. You can challenge your friends in different matches too. You know, you could say, I bet Russell Wilson's going to have a way worse game or a better game than Aaron Rodgers this week or something, and bet that against your friends.
Yes.
It's a lot of fun over-under fantasy sports betting stuff. Great time to join them right now. But yeah, sorry. I just I practiced that, Jeff.
Math is hard for me. That's why I majored in journalism. So anyway, let's talk about Blue Beetle, the new installment of DC, whatever they're doing these days. Initially, we do the start of these episodes with initial reactions. Today, we're going to do something a little bit different because we're going to be very divided on this movie. We're going to give one-word initial reactions. So, Gerald, I'm going to start with you.
Disrespected.
Ahmed.
Did you say disrespected?
Yes. Because I already know it's already getting disrespected by some reviewers, even though the fan score is doing pretty well. And I already know Ahmed's about to disrespect this up and down for the next 20 to 25 minutes.
I'm sorry, guys. I really hope this doesn't affect our friendship, but irrelevant.
Whew.
Irrelevant. All right.
I am...
Fuck, it's already started, hasn't it?
Ahmed hurt my feelings early today. I'm going to say underrated as my initial reactions. But Ahmed, you had some strong feelings, very, very strong feelings about this movie. You even text us in the middle of your screening to let us know. So I'm going to let you start off. What did you not like about Blue Beetle, starring Zolo Maridueña, George Lopez, Susan Sarandon, and a whole cast of very, very talented people?
So, yes, at the risk of being unpopular, and here's what it was. The first half of the movie, formulaic. Everything about it, familiar. The dialogue, I couldn't stand because it was very forceful. You guys may not know, but I've been studying how different actors, how they make a role and bring it to life. And so I've been really critical lately about how actors deliver lines. And so every line that was delivered just seemed so cheesy. I told you guys from the very beginning, this is Power Rangers' take on Iron Man. And I think that's even an insult to Power Rangers or Iron Man. You know what I mean? But again, this is just the first half. The second half did start to pick up. But when I say formulaic, I was like, this is just kind of like, it's the guy's down on his luck and he's going to, find this magic power. But I'm not a killer, even though he leaves behind a trail of bodies. And but I will say there were some things I liked about it. I did sort of get kind of turned around the second half. I loved the soundtrack. I loved the cinematography of it all. Aesthetically, it was very beautiful to watch. But, I mean, good Lord. I was watching the first half going, you guys told me it would be great. Even though I knew it was going to suck, I went in with an open mind. And I had to text y'all in the middle of it because I'm like, what the hell? I feel like I lost a bet. Not on Ryan
Ahmed,
Okay,
Benson.
okay, okay,
this
okay,
is
okay, okay.
yeah.
But you talk about how you're trying to watch and you're trying to pay more attention to things, and I'm trying to change the way I review and watch movies as well. So when I did that, when I came into this movie, you know what I purposely did? I took out all of the superhero fatigue that I could. I stopped thinking about it. I took
Oh,
it
a
away
thousand
from.
percent.
But that's what I'm getting at. Is like you have wanted this movie to fail since the beginning. You know, a lot of people have. To be fair, DCEU has been fucking up a lot lately. So like the trust is not there. Superhero fatigue is for sure a thing because Marvel's not holding up its end of it either. If we're being quite frank, so everybody in the world is already thinking, I don't want to see this. And on top of that, formulaic is a big word you kept using in your argument, and I get that formulaic. But let me get one thing straight: it's a fucking superhero movie. Of course, it's formulaic. And also, if you took out the formulaic is a thing because it works, right? Iron Man works, Ant-Man works, Spider-Man Homecoming worked. Origin stories like this, they fucking work for a reason because they are formulaic because people like formulaic things. But if you take the fact out that it is a formulaic thing, it is done a very well formulaic way. The story is there, the plot is there, the CGI is there, cinematography is for sure there. Zolo as Blue Beetle is there. The emotion from Zolo himself and his family, especially when his dad dies, that's one of the more emotional fathers dying for a superhero that we've seen on camera. I say top 6 because we've had a good amount, but not like a lot of great ones. You know, there's been a few that it's just like, meh, that was bullshit. The villain was very weak. I will give it that. The main villain, 6 out of 10 on top. Action 7.5 because you've seen this action before. Again, getting into Formula and pacing 7.5 because it's a little slow to start. But overall, this is an easy movie to look at and say, if you ignore the fact that, yes, I've seen this a lot of times. If this movie dropped in 2007, same CGI, same actors, same everything, we're all looking at this as a masterpiece because we've never seen anything like it.
That is debatable for sure.
You got to look at the original plan for this movie too. This movie was supposed to premiere on HBO Max, so it was never supposed to be on the big screen. The fact that it looks as good as it does with the cinematography and the suit and the transformation into Blue Beetle, I think that's a huge win for this movie. And the budget is maybe $50 million cheaper than something like Shazam. It is formulaic. Ahmed, I will give you that. Like, it does take a lot from Iron Man, especially Iron Man 1, Ant-Man, and Spider-Man Homecoming, but DC has a history of copying Marvel. They tried to take a shortcut into a cinematic universe. This is the first time that it actually paid off for them.
Well,
And
That is a fair criticism.
I'd argue that DC has been trying so hard not to copy Marvel. They've wanted to do the opposite for so long. The difference is Marvel really digs deep into its like real world roots, right? Like, I mean, some of its biggest arcs are named after things to get you recognized into the real world. Civil War, everything has a war into it, right? Meanwhile, DC, you kick it off and you have a giant alien coming down whose only weakness is a green stone, right? Like,
yes.
so like DC is finally accepted what it needed to do for so damn long is, and Jeff, you've seen some of the animated movies and some of the animated content, so I hope you can agree with me on this. Watching this movie felt like watching somebody watch. It felt like somebody had made this originally for animation, had a storyboard up and everything, and the director said, "Let's make this live action instead. Add some extra stuff into it." And because there's anime shots in this, some of the still shots in between scenes, some of the introductions of the villains, of the main characters, like it's very like their animated series, and it runs like one of their animated movies as well. So like,
and that's why I thought the dialogue was so cheesy. Because if it was an animated series, maybe I could have forgiven it more. But the fact that they were trying to convey this emotion in the first half, that's all I'm talking about. The first half of that dialogue where you're like, okay, so he's down on his luck. He just graduated from college. He's having a hard time finding a job. You know, it's all that. I'm like, oh my God. Oh, and then like he just got this job, and then he's gonna like try to stop the fight between Jenny Cord, whatever, and her aunt. Like, dude, give me a fucking break.
I mean, I can argue that he was super into Jenny from the beginning, so that's probably part of the reason that he was trying to jump into that.
No,
Yeah, but
that's why it was so cheesy, because it's like, oh, really? This is their meet cute of the film, and you know what I mean. So that's
I
why
will
I
say,
got turned off by it.
the dialogue is not Oscar worthy, and nothing really is in a superhero movie unless it's The Dark Knight. Zolo is such a charismatic dude that I think he does sell this, and I think George Lopez steals a lot of this movie with the jokes in here. That is such great casting to put a comedian like George Lopez in a movie like this. Dude had me fucking rolling like half this movie.
Yeah,
The cast
man.
is charming. I love Nana. Like Nana pulls up with a fucking bazooka at the end of this movie. It just made me
It's top tier
really love
comic content.
everybody.
It's top tier comic content, is it not? It's just like like comics have always been out of this world bullshit. I mean, like that's why their superheroes have powers in the first place. Was in the sense to give you some kind of like, okay, it's a different world where this crazy stuff can happen. A man has spider powers, or a guy gets a beetle in his back. Like it's comic bullshit in all the end of it. At the end of it, and to me,
Yeah.
like DC allowing it to actually happen. You can't take your characters too seriously. It works at times. You can make a Batman movie like that. The problem is whenever you've built a universe built off silly goofs and silly quirks and all this little stuff, and villains who are dead set on world domination and all this bullshit, like
Yeah.
you can't keep the entire universe serious like that. So, like,
Uh,
allowing it to be a little
yeah,
silly, allowing it to exist in a way like Blue Beetle, movies like Blue Beetle do, and even in the Marvel universe, it's all serious over there, right?
Yeah.
It's all serious and shit, but it's also still funny as hell. Like, there's still like some weird shit going on. Like, I mean, like you get like little call outs to the weird shit that probably would happen with Ben and Jerry's getting Hulk burning love, or some
Yeah.
stuff
Batman's a
like that.
fascist.
Yeah, Batman's a fan, like stuff like that. Like allow it to exist like that. Like, and that's how I think like this movie separates itself in the sense of while it does stuff formulaically, and while it does a lot of things that you would expect out of a comic movie, and things that you wish wouldn't happen in a comic movie, it does everything it does well. It doesn't fall flat on its ass, in my opinion. It tells it in a funny way, in a great, in a really good way. The worst part to me is like the intro to Blue Beetle himself. Whenever he's getting taken up by it, because that scene actually looks kind of gross and grody, and the music they
See,
chose for
that's
it
how
was a little
Venom should
funny.
have been.
Yeah,
That
That
is how Venom should have been.
it is.
But there is one. This is the one thing in the movie that made me kind of cringe is during the transformation scene, he is looking at his reflection at a picture of the Virgin Mary, and the Virgin Mary's eyes light up Blue Beetle yellow. I was like, okay, that's a little bit on the nose. But other than that, I mean, I thought this was charming as hell. I have a lot of favorite parts in this movie. What were your guys's or some of your guys' favorite scenes in this?
I had a favorite scene. I think my favorite scene. I wish they kind of would have done a little bit more on the villain. Because whenever you find out his origin story, it's heartbreaking. Um, and so I would have liked to kind of see more of him. I also really liked the intro sequence, like the opening credits sequence. I thought that was really well put together. Um, yeah, those were. Oh, and the fight scenes were pretty cool.
Yeah, like I loved the scenes where Zolo or Jaime Reyes is going to go pick up Jenny at Cord Industries, and then they get into that kind of huge fight on the side of the road with all these uh, soldiers, I guess. But Jaime like burns his clothes off, which I think is such a hilarious addition to these kind of superhero tropes where the Hulk transforms and
Yeah.
he still has his purple pants on. Jaime transforms and he's naked. So, like that whole sequence in the truck, I thought was just funny where he's kind of Winnie the Poohing it in the back. Just some real funny comedy in this
Yeah,
movie.
Winnie Poohing
I
it in
love
the
that.
back.
Well, when I saw that, I immediately, and this is going to be, so hopefully one of our viewers will catch this. But I'm watching a show called My Hero Academia. It's a Japanese anime, and there's a character on there that when he uses his power, he can end up naked. So like his official costume, like he has it set up to where it doesn't go away like that. But like when he's training and stuff, he's always ends up naked, so it's always funny as hell. So when I saw that, that's when I was like, this is another thing that just feels like a DC animated project, right?
Yeah.
Like just funny shit, and also like it's just an addition to superhero movies in general recently. But my favorite scene was actually when Jaime had finally like accepted the responsibility and power, and his sister's about down on her luck. She's about to get killed, and he just walks into the room. And that fight scene, that hallway fight scene, wasn't Daredevil fight scene good, but it was damn good. It was a good fight scene for Blue Beetle. I enjoyed that part.
And Cypress Hill in the background. I thought I was watching. What was that Netflix Marvel series with Iron Fist, Luke Cage, and that whole crossover?
The
Defenders. Yeah.
And they were playing "Break Your Neck" by Wu-Tang Clan. That was like the ultimate callback for me.
There's some cool shit in there. Like he pulls out the sword from Final Fantasy.
Yeah, he fucking did. I was like, yo,
this guy plays Final Fantasy, and I love the things in this movie to me that you can say are like I wish there was more of. You put more of that in there, and you end up taking away from what made this movie great. If you put more of the villain's backstory into it, you make the villain better. You take away from the family concept in this movie, or you take away from the Cord family in this movie. And the Cord's going to play a big part in the future of the DCEU, I would assume at this point. So like a lot of the stuff in this that people would hate and wish could have been better, I think were made that way because you kind of have to choose, right? You can't have a perfect movie. There is no such thing. You'd last 4 hours. But you can try to get in 2 hours, you can try to get the best you can out of everything. And I think this was damn near close for DC.
But
go ahead.
I was gonna say, but small counter argument to the whole theme of this movie is family. Yes, can we agree on that?
Yeah. This movie is a Fast and Furious movie. Let's get one thing straight.
But so much better than every Fast and the Furious movie.
Yeah, we're not arguing that. But the whole movie's theme is family, and there are some people. You guys know I'm a huge Simpsons fan, and Mr. Burns, he's writing "Cause of Death's Family" got in my way, and so the idea behind the villains is like your family makes you weak. But then you find out that his family was literally taken from him. And then, of course, you hear Jenny's story about how her family was betrayed by another family. It's like you could have done something so amazing by just tying in all three of those and making them full circle.
But then that goes into a 3-hour-long movie.
Yeah, honestly, I was listening to another podcast, and they had a good point. Not every villain needs like a huge backstory. Sometimes you just need somebody who's evil as fuck for no reason whatsoever. Susan Sarandon, her main goal was to get the Scarab to create an army of bugmen or whatever Carapax was.
She wanted money.
And she wanted money. That was her whole thing. Was she the best villain in the world? No, not by a long shot.
She was just the very basic like villain-facing villain who can't fight him or herself, so hires big brutes to do it for him.
This is not a shot at Susan Sarandon, by the way.
But like Susan Sarandon's not fighting Blue Beetle with the Final Fantasy sword. Like,
I would have loved to see that, though. I would have loved to see that.
Man, Susan Sarandon could probably take him with that Final Fantasy sword. I would have money on Susan Sarandon.
And then I do want to say that I liked what.
Rival. Now we're tying Rival.
But I do like what DC did here by including some of its properties in little ways, and they did it a little less obvious than they had in previous movies. Like in Black Adam, they had like literally a room with just fanboy shit of DCEU products. This time it was like I think like 2 or 3 passing scenes, but like having those in there this way enables it to where it can exist in whatever universe they build around it. So Blue Beetle can come back, and I do like that because regardless of how you feel about this movie and regardless of how this movie ends up doing, I sure do hope we get to see this cast come back. Because now it's not fair to this movie. It made less than fucking Morbius did an opening weekend. Whenever there was no strike and people were going to the movies every day, there is a strike right now. These guys aren't making money. And this movie made less than that. And this movie is by far way better than Morbius. I don't give a shit what Ahmed says.
It's better than The Flash, too. But DC has a problem nowadays. And like even we were talking about it in the group chat where Eric, asked his fiance if she wanted to see this movie, and she told him, "No, it's a DC movie. I don't want to go see it." Like the goodwill that Marvel has built up over a decade plus is not what DC has. So people are looking at these movies like they're automatically going to be trash when really there is some really good things here. So
Remember
I
when
just wish
Marvel
people.
announced the first Hispanic villain they were going to have our main character, and we
Oh,
lost our
not
shit for
more.
Black
Yeah,
Panther? Yeah,
yeah.
this is a Hispanic superhero with an entire Hispanic like Mexican family trying to live and get through, like
And they nail it
and
too.
they
They
nailed it.
nail it.
They nailed it,
Me and
and
Gerald come from Hispanic backgrounds. Like when
they
they
nailed
woke
it.
him up,
And
when
this
they
is like
woke him up with
whoa.
Vicks, when
they
they
woke
woke
him
him
up
up
with
with Vicks,
Vicks.
that shit was
Hold on.
fucking
Hold on.
hilarious.
They woke him up with
Oh
Vicks.
my god.
But like, I'm not
Yes.
saying that's why
Well,
anybody's hating on it, because I don't believe that's the case.
No.
I think people are hating on it because
Okay,
of superhero
good.
fatigue
Because I was about to
and
say,
lack of trust from DC. It's what it is. Like, people are hating on it because there's a lack of trust of the DCEU, and it's because of superhero fatigue. Because right now we don't know who the fuck we can trust, but especially not that guy, right? I mean, like, you got two friends in a room, but both of them have fucked you over in the past. One of them more recently than the last, but the other one is just continuously fucked for the past 10 years. So
Yeah.
you're like, which one do I trust? So the world's hating on it. I'm saying that it's unfortunate as hell. Like, this is an Hispanic, Mexican superhero getting a big billing in DC and has been acknowledged by James Gunn as he's going to be in the new DCU.
Yeah.
So he's
So I
literally
hope he
kicking
comes
off the
back
new DCU,
with
and
this
this is
guy.
happening. And it sucks because, in a decade plus, when the DCU maybe has figured this shit out, this very well could be the one that finally kicked all of it off. And we could all be looking at it and being like, damn, and it was a failure at the box office.
And I mean, there's been other DC movies that haven't done great. I mean, Shazam 2, Black Adam, even the Suicide Squad, which James Gunn directed, didn't do great either.
We're not even talking about Batman versus Superman.
Oh, that movie made a lot of money, but that movie was horrible. I mean, we could
made
get
a lot
into
of-
DC
That movie
and
made a
their
lot of money
problems.
because they marketed it in I Am Legend, like however long before. And
Yes.
everybody was like, there's no way you can fuck this up. You're putting Batman and Superman in one movie. But they did by adding a convoluted
One word,
story that made
Martha.
no sense.
Yes.
Yeah, Martha. That's the one word.
You really had to
That
do
movie
nothing.
was so bad.
Like, you were bringing Batman and
So
Superman
bad.
together for the first time on big screen, and then you messed it up.
Honestly, any movie where it's Alien versus Predator, Freddy versus Jason, Batman versus Superman, it's going to be terrible.
It doesn't work.
I'll just tell you that.
There's too many people that want to mess with the direct, because you get two directors who have two different views of each of their characters, right?
Yes.
Like, the director for Superman is going to think his Superman is a certain way, and that Batman is a certain way from what he's learned and watched on screen. But the director on the other end and the writers over there are going to think the same and different things about their Superman and their Batman. So, like,
yeah.
it's just you get those two involved, and you decide to name one of them the captain, right? So one of them gets
Speaking of characters, this is going to be our transition into our new favorite character segment. We are tying in Rival Fantasy into this going forward. We're going to do a mini fantasy draft for our favorite characters of the movie. So we're going to give Ahmed the first pick in this draft. Gerald gets number 2. I get number 3. We can't pick the same favorite character. Everyone's on the board. Ahmed, you are on the clock. Who is your favorite character of this movie?
So I'll make it easy for you guys. Nana was my favorite character.
Oh.
Yes. I thought Nana was a bad bitch. Nana, like, just straight up, I could see she was the only one that I thought was the only one capable of making shit happen, okay? And when you guys were talking about it, y'all come from, Hispanic families, I get it, but let's get something straight. I'm the only one in this room that can actually speak Spanish. So, no quiero oírte nada de nosotros, okay?
Oh my God.
Yeah, all right?
Look at me, Louie, over here.
Okay.
No me digas nada, all right?
Okay, I don't want to hear shit. Yeah, no. Come on, bro. I understand your shit too. Don't fucking play.
You understand it, but you can't speak it.
Ching out, tu madre. Fucking come over here.
Chingao. Ooh, look at you.
Ándale.
Love this guy.
Cállate, güey. Come up here. Ándale, pues.
Yes.
You know my address?
Yes.
You-
I do.
yeah.
No, I don't. Send me your address. I'm gonna send you some Amazon packages.
All right, Gerald, you are on the clock. And say it in Spanish, actually. Your pick.
Say it in Spanish. Zolo, Maraduena.
There you go.
There you go. I love how he made it sound like a telenovela too.
Yeah, he slipped in our draft. I thought he was going to go number one. He went number two.
No, but seriously, Zola Maraduena in this, he's great. I thought his comedic timing was good. I thought everything was great about him. I had never actually watched him. So I'd never seen the show he's on, and I'm blanking on the name now. Karate.
You've never seen Cobra Kai?
No, I've never watched Cobra Kai. You were telling me to watch it like 3 years ago. but yeah, I very much enjoyed him in this, and I'm kind of want to watch Cobra Kai now.
Cobra Kai is good for the first 3 seasons, and then some outlandish shit happens. You can look at me and Ahmed's review if you really want to get our sense of the last season. He is the best part of it for sure, though. I do love him as an actor, but I am gonna pick Uncle Rudy, George Lopez, as the third pick in the draft. MVP of the movie for me. Thought he was fantastic. Put more George Lopez in more DC projects. That's all I have to say about that.
Fun fact about George Lopez as Uncle Rudy. I heard that he actually grew his hair out for that role.
Shit.
Like that's not a wig. And I don't know how you can hide that, but he tried successfully. According to Rotten Tomatoes, he hid that shit for a while. So good job to him. That fucking commitment. That's next level.
Yeah, and I love the Cheech and Chong bobbleheads in his truck too.
Yes.
I love him singing Selena. That was awesome.
Yes, him singing Selena. I was like, oh no, he's not.
Yeah, so good. You gonna sing it? Bitty bitty bum bum.
Bitty bitty bum bum.
Bitty bitty bitty. All right, let's get to our final rankings of this movie. We are gonna switch the draft order up. I am gonna go first this time, and I'm gonna give this movie an all-star. I don't think it's the best superhero movie I've ever seen. I thought it was charming enough. I thought the cast was so likable, and the family was great. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Miss Marvel and that family in that series, just how likable they were and how you wanted to see more of them. I would recommend this. I would go into this movie with an open mind, support this movie on the big screen while you still can. I have nothing but good things to say about it. So that is my ranking. With the reverse draft order, we will go to Gerald next.
Damn, reverse, I still get second. That's what's the best thing about being a 3-person team, right? Because if you get the second pick, you're always the second pick. You never have to think too long.
Hurry up, Gerald.
It's also an all-star. As I said earlier, the story, CGI, cinematography, casting, Zolo as Blue Beetle, emotion, villain, action, pacing, plot, and just all that together. There's not too many things I can knock other than the villain, and the villain is still a 6.5, maybe. You're getting an 84 out of 100 if you're taking a test like that every time, right? And that's an all-star to me. That's not Hall of Fame level, but it's all-stars. Formulaic as shit. You know what's going to happen. You know who's going to be the one to crack the joke more than likely. But all the jokes land. They're all funny. The shots are still great. It's a new take on an origin story we've seen a couple times, and it's a lot of fun with great actors and actresses. So, all-star.
Nice. Ahmed.
So despite all the crap I was talking, I would give it a starter because I know it has potential. This is DC's first attempt at making an actual superhero movie. No offense, DC, but it's just the fact that it took too long to make a movie like this. We should have had our first Latino, Latinx, whatever appropriate adjective Mexican, Hispanic, Latino, Chicano, Chicanx, all those. We should have had that a long fucking time ago. And we finally got it. It's decent. I just wish it wasn't at this time where there's so much superhero fatigue. But I do still encourage people to watch it. Support your local movie theaters.
Yeah,
So
100%.
there was 3 people on my showing, not including me, and that was. I mean, it was Saturday at 10:30 a.m., so I get it, but also like I would like to see this movie garner a lot more attention. It deserves it.
Yeah.
Just
I hope
like
it has
you know what else?
legs.
You know what else deserves attention?
What's that? Rival?
Join
Fantasy sports?
Rival.com/box office quarterbacks.
Yes. Our
Yeah.
fantasy league is going to be dropping here in a few weeks.
Yep.
Got
Which is-
$500 worth of prizes up for grabs. Ahmed knows.
$500 worth for grabs.
She signed up. We're waiting for her $200 to come in.
Yeah, even
Yes.
Ahmed's playing fantasy sports, and like Ahmed has never like. I mean, he thinks that like when you hit a home run, you score 3 points and run to the end zone. So I'm sure he thinks all that was real.
Hey.
But you know, like we'll see.
That's why they call them fantasy sports.
We'll
okay?
see how
That's
this
why they call
works.
them
We'll see how this works. I had to have a long talk with Ahmed that fantasy sports did not include like pillow fights and other things of the such.
But it would be so much better if it did. Let me tell you that.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
All right, guys. Yeah, another fun episode. Check out Blue Beetle. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We will see you guys very, very soon with another episode. We'll talk to you guys then. Have a good rest of the week.